Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Motivational Monday. Today we have with us Coach Randell Siow, but we're still waiting for a few more to come in. So in the meantime, just enjoy a bit of motivational sayings and talks from the. morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome back to the second edition of Motivational Mondays. Thank you for those who attended our first one, where we had Coach Andrew Boy share with us some of his experiences in the digital space, trying to coach online and putting up activities, resources, and training for his students, for his athletes. Today we have Coach Randell Siow, and I think you can see from my screen there his wealth of experience and the skills and knowledge that he brings to the table, and that's the reason why we have engaged him to share with us his journey, particularly in this current COVID situation where we have had to look deep into our digital capabilities and pick up new ones so that we can continue to connect with our athletes, connect with our players, connect with their parents, and also how we can continue to engage them in training so that once this COVID situation gets better and training gets lifted, suspension get lifted, then we're able to engage our students, our athletes, such that they are not starting from zero. And we also ensure that they won't be at risk of injury because they have been kept conditioned through your regular engagement during this difficult time. So I want to welcome Randell. Randell, can you hear me? I think your mic is on mute.
Oh, okay. Hi, morning everyone. Morning Azhar. Thanks to everyone for welcoming me to be with you. Glad to be here today.
All right. So Randell has been in our registry as a wrestling and wushu coach for a number of years, since 2006 actually, and he's been very enterprising. He's been an entrepreneur in different areas of leadership, team management, strategic thinking, content design, risk management. So a guy that comes to us with really a wealth of experience, and of course in the area particularly of martial arts. Randell actually also have been helping us in developing the curriculum, the SG Coach curriculum for quite a number of sports. Yeah, Randell. That will.
阿媽，你個燙斗有冇閂嚇？你個燙斗有冇閂啊？聞到一陣味啊！
Okay, we have someone from Hong Kong joining us. So just a request to all of you who have joined us. Yeah, to all of us who have joined us, make sure that your mic is mute, yeah, so we can hear the speaker well and hear me well as well. So back to Randell, yeah, a guy with a wealth of experience, and I was just mentioning that Randell, you've been working with different NSAs to develop the coaching curriculum, and that will be with wushu, I believe, with sepak takraw. Is that right, Randell? Yeah.
Most of my curriculum integration has been with the combat sports. So I started with the wrestling, Singapore Wrestling Group, a fantastic bunch of guys. I worked with Sheikh and his team for Silat, Vincent Ng and the coaches at Wushu Federation. Latest iteration was with Judo Federation.
Yeah,
so we
that's right.
managed to complete their first run before the COVID shutdown. So they've run their first integrated coaching course for coaches sometime back already.
Yeah, that's right. So thanks again for helping to do that kind of work, the area of work for our NSAs and for our coaches as well. But today is really following up on, I see Andrew has joined us. Andrew, thanks again for last week. And today is really a follow-up on what we discussed with Andrew last week in terms of, number one, I think the priority would be if coaches are thinking about going into online space, then the priority first is to establish that online profile. So if you haven't had already a Facebook page, for example, or Instagram page, then now is the time to do it. Build your build your profile, and then secondly, build that that content that you have so that you can continue to coach and slowly market it digitally as Andrew shared the last time. Yeah. So Randell, you have some area in this, or you have been already doing some area of coaching, online coaching, and engaging your athletes, your coaches actually as well. So would you like to share with us what you've been up to?
Well, actually at this point in time, we have had to run two types of programs for virtual learning or online learning. One is what we call the synchronous learning. So we do it live It's either through online video streaming. There's a wide variety of platforms we can engage them in. The other request has been for us to work either with schools or with corporate organizations to do some sort of home-based learning or e-learning. So the challenge has been for myself as a coach and the rest of my coaches is a 2-hour session, a 2-hour physical face-to-face coaching session. It could be in any martial arts, judo, wrestling, wushu. Is very different from a 2-hour virtual lesson. So you can't just port that directly over. There are certain considerations to be made. The other thing is in terms of sustainability, when many of us first started to do virtual lessons, for many of us, it was something strange. How do I teach sports online? Or specifically, how do I teach martial arts online? Is it authentic? Is it going to be the same as the real thing? Okay, let's do 1 lesson, 2 lessons. But when we realize that this COVID situation is here to stay and online coaching becomes the new normal. So one thing I think coaches can do as we share with the industry is that this should not be, when we look at virtual coaching, yes, it cannot replace everything that we do, but it should not be seen as the poorer cousin to face-to-face coaching. So if we say that, oh, okay, I'm only going to do a video lesson or online streaming, but when things get back, I'll be back to normal. Then from a client perspective, everyone sees the video or online lesson as a lesser offering. Where we should position ourselves now should be, apart from face-to-face lessons as coaches, we now have the capacity and the capability to do online lessons. Now, this adds to the coach as the repertoire. So you now have multiple ways to engage your clients. So that already brings us out to try and create new value for our clients rather than say, I'm only doing this as a stopgap measure. So once we have the mind share, it's better, it's easier for us to engage our clients and our stakeholders.
Yeah, but I think Randall, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. In that, I think our mindset and our thinking should be that when we are doing all these online resources and we're building up all this rich content, is really for it to be evergreen, isn't it? Not just for this current situation, but in terms of the quality, in terms of the content, it should be with a view of this being used as a blended approach to training moving forward when this COVID situation is all over. So the question I have for you is, for a coach that hasn't done anything much, so they have followed Andrew Boy's advice from last week in establishing their online profile, and they want to get started in terms of this online coaching. So what are some of the things that they need to be thinking about? What would be the first thing, second thing to do in setting this up, and what are the considerations, particularly safety, that they need to be thinking about?
Okay. Shout out to Andrew. Andrew, thank you for your session last week. I was there. I think I noticed that you do some form of Japanese swordsmanship. We ought to get together for coffee after this. Azam, maybe you allow me to share screen. I'll just throw some of my slides on.
All right, give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay, yep. You should be able to share your screen now.
Okay, let me try that. Give me a moment. I'm the host now. Share screen. There we go. Okay. You got that?
Yep.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just do some quick toggling to find my. Okay. So, one of the things we need to consider when we are doing online lessons is, the challenge has always been, there is tons of free YouTube videos out there. So when we engage your clients, usually most of my coaches have told me that, look, one of the biggest challenges is parents will tell them, whether it's Tai Chi, Wushu, or any other, that's Pilates, yoga, we've got free YouTube videos there. So what is the value proposition for what we are doing? Two, many coaches always feel, and this one I experience it myself, we always feel that face-to-face interaction is more authentic. So how do we overcome our own personal hurdles? So my take to this is, when you run an online coaching session, be it a live stream, be it a video that you put out there, the first thing that we need to do is not what content I can produce or how well I can execute my moves. The question that we need to ask is what type of value we can give to our athletes, what kind of coaching that they need to look at. Otherwise, from the athlete's perspective or from the consumer's perspective, there is no difference between signing up for a video lesson than buying a workout DVD. Although that's part of what we can do, we shouldn't be limited only to that. So how much effort do we put in? First of all, we need to ask ourselves, how much content do we want to produce? Initially, some coaches were just thinking, let me just post 1 or 2 videos. When this whole thing is over, I'll go back to normal. But we realized that if we want to sustain ourselves in the virtual space as coaches, then the blended learning approach that you talked about, where we, assuming COVID lockdown is lifted tomorrow, those of us who have engaged in the virtual space will still want to continue doing so, because now we realize we have multiple avenues of being available to our athletes and clients. So when we produce content, it should not be ad hoc anymore. It should feature into our entire session planning for the duration of the period that we want to coach. So this is something that we need to consider before even starting filming. How much video or content do I want to produce? In terms of feasibility, then as a coach, we need to ask ourselves, how long does it take to produce and compare it with our physical sessions? Because we need to scale our efforts. It doesn't make sense for me to produce a 1-minute video, but I spend 10 hours producing it. Then as a coach, it's not sustainable for me, because then either I need to upskill my capacity in video production, or I need to find another solution, work with other coaches. And there is a difference between how much time a learner can spend watching you on screen and duplicating your movements. So we need to also ask ourselves, how much content can we put out? Is it a workout? Is it instructional? How can we scale this? So just as an example, right? I recently did a project where I was asked to compress a 1.5-hour face-to-face fight choreography class into a 20-minute instructional video. So assuming 20 minutes of instructional, I would assume a minimum of 20 minutes of filming time. So this 20 minutes of filming time is based on the assumption that if you want to produce a 20-minute video, you get your filming done in 1 take, no mistakes. But realistically, most of us know that that's not possible. Usually you want to film for 20 minutes, you need to film at least 60 minutes. If you want to do your video editing for a 20-minute clip, minimum would be maybe 40 minutes of editing. But realistically, we are looking at another about an hour or 2 hours. So an output for a 20-minute online video, no matter your content, no matter your quality of movement, whether you're a beginning coach or whether you're an experienced coach, just producing a 20-minute video might be up to 2 to 3 hours work. And that's compared to the regular face-to-face class of 1 hour. So coaches, when we start to put ourselves in the virtual phase, then we need to find a way to quantify that this 20 minutes of online engagement is worth 2 to 3 hours of work. Now, in order to quantify that and qualify that to your client, then there must be a lot of thought into seeing how this video works into your athlete's general training program. Otherwise, it's just another video out there. So that's one of the things that my coaches together have, and I, the coaches I work in partnership with, we've taken a lot of efforts to put in. I think I see Silvano online. My good friend, my good coach Silvano, shout out to you. He's been a key collaborator with me in all that I do in order to engage our athletes in the virtual space during this period.
Yeah, so I think you brought up that same exact point at the start, where the question for us is, how do we differentiate ourselves from whatever content is available online at the moment, right? And I think a lot of now with home-based learning and everything going online, I think a lot of people out there, be it our students, our athletes, or even coaches, find it difficulty trying to troll through the internet and YouTube videos, which one is good, which one is not good. So I think if your point exactly, right? If you collaborate with others and you know that there are some credible resources out there, and for Coach SD, we have pushed up quite a number of resources with the Word Up Challenge. So if you can find those credible materials, then you don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, right? You take the credible resources, then you
Yes.
package it into your own sort of design of your training session, so that you kind of cut down the need to spend that many hours curating that content. That's my first reflection. And second would be, you know, even though when we were comparing it to our face-to-face session, which is 1 hour long, but quite a bit goes into planning of that as well, right? So just because we are running a physical 1 hour session doesn't mean that there's no planning. So I think the key here is, as you rightfully pointed out, is planning. Make sure that you plan well so that you cut down the amount of time needed to do filming and any other stuff. Is that correct?
Yes. So you hit the nail on the head, because if you look at what some of for those of us who will be involved in doing home-based learning package or even e-learning packages, sometimes in the 2-hour engagement period or where your lesson is, it's okay, it's perfectly fine to even show links to YouTube videos that have been very well produced. So it's not the lack of content out there, but it's actually how to use the platform now to actually maintain the relationship, the coach-athlete relationship, or the community relationship, not only with ourselves, two ways. So there's one level, me and the athlete, but there's also me and my athletes, as well as the athletes with each other. So the virtual platform allows us to keep that going, where you can give different types of feedback. I'll talk about that later. The other thing that I wanted to share about would be maybe at this point to give some tips and best practices in terms of producing video content. Would that be okay? Shall I move on to that?
Yes.
So one way for most of us is, and I think Sport SG did a great job, because I saw one of your info packs where for people who are starting new to video production, you actually gave an FAQ of different levels of entry. If you want to do your own video production, you want to start populating them on social media, exactly like what Andrew presented last week. So there's different levels for different players to enter depending on how savvy you are.
Yeah, so for those who have missed that out, check out the Active SG Circle, and there will be that resource there, and they even provide you the link, and you can purchase some of the equipment online.
Online, right? Yes.
Yeah, Lazada and so on. So do check it out in the Active SG Circle website. Yeah.
So my wife was looking at that, and I think one of the things that I would recommend that I've actually neglected is that you recommended the light ring, and I realized that with that, it makes a lot of our handphone videos look much better, because it illustrates the close profile of the presenter. Many of our handphones now are great, high definition videos on the handphone, so most of us can get by with that technology. But small little touches will make it much easier to produce crisp looking videos, which make it easier for understanding. So one of the things I wanted to share now is consider not only our ability to film the video and perform the moves that we want, but also our client's ability to execute the various moves. So this was one of the projects I did. If you are coaching martial arts or any form of activity that requires a lot of gross body movement, then we need to consider also from our clients, the fact that they can access the video might not mean that they are able to practice it. So we need to scale the skills and adapt it for their environment. So I teach Filipino martial arts as well, Kali's, and one of the implements is we use a rattan stick. So we have to factor that into consideration. Does the student have enough space? Will he pose, an inconvenience to himself or others at home? Also, do you have to move in and out of the video to view the move and step back out? So if you're doing a lot of fine motor movements and fine joint articulations, and then you find that your participant needs to step into his handphone screen and then move back out to execute it, that presents a challenge to him. So when we are filming video, sometimes it's very tempting to showcase what we do well, what we can do. But in that online class, whether it's a video class or whether it's a live class, not all the participants have the same access to space. So we should also touch base, factor it out and see, okay, what are the activities that you can do within the confines? And then we tailor it and give them options. Okay, if you have wide enough space, if you stay in landed property, you've got big space, okay, you can do your footwork bigger. If you're staying in your HDB flat, there's limited space, okay, these are some you can do, maybe restrict motions to the upper body, do some of the drills. So these are some considerations that we need to have. The other thing is film with editing in mind. So in the past, we've had projects where we've had assistants to do filming for us. Silvano and I were working on a number of videos previously. So if you have an intern or someone who is your cameraman who may not be familiar with sport, usually what they do is they leave the camera running and they film, they capture very good angles. But when you go back and sit down in front of a computer, you realize that you have 6 hours of continuous footage there. Yeah, and then in order to edit 6 hours of footage, you actually need to sit down for 6 hours. But your video clip needs to be only 20 minutes long. So what we always do is we try and keep our clips to 30 seconds or maybe to a minute at the most. Then once we review it, if we don't like it, we cut it out already. So by the time I download my content to the laptop, I already have an idea what I want. Rather than just film, and go back and suddenly realize the moment you sit down or check out, man, you look at your raw footage, that's 6 hours worth. By the time you scroll through it, there's not enough time. So we film with editing in mind.
So I guess this relates to Andrew's point earlier that you need to create that storyboard before you go and start filming.
Yes, exactly. So based on what I listened from Andrew, right? So here's a screenshot of my Windows Movie Maker. I'm still using very basic video editing software. I know there are guys who are using Adobe Premiere, and that's fantastic. So for me, Movie Maker or some of the free online tools are fine. I try and keep my clips short. Then what that allows me to do is just insert the tracks. So my objective has always been, I will set up a clear title. That means at the beginning of every video, I'll set up a clear title, and I will take one or two screenshots where I set up a clear learning goal. So that can be either a slide inserted. Today we're going to learn this. If it's an instructional video, I'll do three things. I will demonstrate, I'll do it at normal speed, and the advantage of going online now. So here is something I'd like to share with coaches. We always think that live demonstration face-to-face is the best, but let's make the tools work for us. In real life, if you want to do a highly technical movement, you can't do it in slow motion, very hard. If you're doing a jumping aerial movement, there's no way you can freeze yourself in mid-air. But with the technology, you can now do movements in slow motion. That allows the learner to see what you're doing, and you can do it with multiple angles. So you can actually film yourself doing the same thing in multiple angles. There should be portions in your coaching video where you do it with me. So if I'm telling the practitioner, start with your right hand, do some striking patterns, I might actually be able to flip the video such that in his video, he sees me starting with my left hand. So I'm a mirror image to him. But I don't necessarily have to do it in my left hand. All I need to do is just flip the video. So he's looking at a direct mirror image of me. Then I save tips and corrections towards the end. So this is a sample of what I did. It's the sound playing. By cross-loading. So I start by showing a short instructional. Turn, strike above the top of the head. Turn, strike over the top of the head. Turn, strike over the top of the head. Turn, strike over the top of the head. Okay, direct speed. So the first round is a demonstration at normal speed. Then without having to do much, I just slow the frame rate down to about 75% or 50% just to make it slower and easy for them to catch the finer points of the motion.
another variation. You can insert the circle behind the back of the head. So as you turn, circle behind, strike. As you turn, circle behind, strike. Circle, circle. So you can go direct.
I also make it a point to keep subtitles at the bottom of the screen, so that if the student or the learner wishes to reference, it's easier for them to be able to scroll through fast forward and see which portions of the segment they want to refer to. So at this portion, because this was meant for off-site asynchronous e-learning platform, I keep instructional very sparse for the moment.
As a teaching point, you want to ensure that
only after they have gone through YG
all the way 90
detailed
degrees
teaching points.
and slash through. Turn your body 90 degrees all the way and slash through.
So from there, once that's the instructional portion, you realize that for this portion, that's about maybe 2 to 3 minutes. In face-to-face coaching engagements, we can usually manage to keep the instructional attention of our students for maybe 10 minutes. But online, with many factors competing for attention, in my experience, if your instructional is more than 5 minutes like that, you tend to lose the attention of your learner. So I keep it about 2 or 3 minutes, and the next clip will be immediately I encourage them to practice the same move with me. So I'll film it such that they can work out along with me. And the advantage of filming now at this portion is then, as they're doing the workout, I provide them with different variations. Now they can see the footwork. If I need them to close in on the upper body motion, I focus it on that. So by doing this, we make the technology work for us. So it isn't necessarily, it may not allow me to be physically present. We are separated by distance, but learning can still take place in a meaningful fashion for them. Azhar, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. The question I have is, in terms of online engagement, the advice is typically no more than 4 minutes at one go.
Yep.
So that will still be relevant in this context.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, we also bear in mind that the learner may be accessing your content through a handphone, through an iPad, or through a desktop. So for him to access it already may pose some challenges if I'm doing any form of physical workout. I might, if it's a video, I might have to watch it at my desk, run out into the hall and then practice it. So if you have me standing there and moving, shuttling it, it just breaks down the entire process. So at least for the instructional content where he needs to sit down close to the screen, keep it to at the most, like what you say, 4 minutes, at the most 5 minutes. Then have the person moving and working alongside with you. That's why for coaches who are working this, it's also good to target your audience. I was speaking with some of the racket sports coaches as well, because I'm working with them on their curriculum. So one of the challenges is that we were sharing is, if you put up a video showing a forehand serve and a backhand serve, you could teach it very well. But we realized that this type of lesson, a lesson needs to be targeted to a certain demographic of students. If a student has never held the racket before, that means have never played a racket sport, he will find that this is not meaningful because I've never started the lesson. If it's a national player, he'll find that you're teaching me a forehand and backhand doesn't challenge me. Where the sweet spot would be someone who started playing, for whatever reason, now I need to supplement my learning. This is something I have experience with, but I'm not very good at it. Then when you turn the video lesson on for him, it becomes an adjunct to his regular training. So we, as coaches, we can't view the fact that, look, I know so much content, 100%. The moment I put something out there, my learner will definitely appreciate it because I put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It doesn't necessarily work this way. We need to gear it for the profile and the level of the athlete that we need.
So I think this also relates to the point about the pedagogical concept of
Yes.
inclusion, right? So
Yes.
we know that even in our regular face-to-face class, we have our athletes or our students that are of differing ability. Some are really good, and some are it's a bit challenging for the activities that we design. So I think that we are always aiming to engage them optimally, and therefore there must be for any set activity that we design for them, there must be options to regress and options to progress. If you are good, then you progress to a higher level of difficulty, a high level of challenge. And if you're struggling with it, then there is another variation of that activity so that you can regress and challenge yourself accordingly.
Yep. So moving forward, the entry level, I would say that, Azhar, based on what you shared, is for coaches who have not come on, is the ability to produce content. So if we look at as coaches, in our day-to-day coaching, we are already producing content. Just that now we produce coaching content with the addition of a virtual platform. So if we take that analogy further, for coaches who have not come on board to the virtual platform or the online platform, do come on board. This is an added avenue for you. But also, we must note that just like in face-to-face coaching, coaching is two ways. Content creation is also two ways. So apart from us producing content to keep the learner engaged, the learner can also produce content for us to give feedback. So with platforms now, where it's truly valuable is after the lesson, be it a video lesson or it's a live lesson, take use of the platforms. You could be using Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, or even through WhatsApp groups. We've invited our students to film short clips of themselves based on the assignment given to them. And then we review it either as coach to student or even in their peer communities. So by doing so, then the onus is not just on the coach, that the coach needs to entertain you every week and come up with new content. You yourself are responsible for your own training and growth. So you empower them. We use this model. This is something that for those of us who have been working with you all for the integrated coaching program, when we talked about the coaching model of telling, asking, selling, and even delegating learning and coaching tasks to our learners. So one model that one of the modes that we can do is, yes, we can use this proportion to say, look, use the online video platforms to annotate and provide visual feedback on form and structure. So with video now, when the students send back their clips to us, we can actually freeze frame, do a screen capture, annotate on the screen to say, look, your body is bent here. When you do the deadlift, you need to tuck your hips in. So in the past, if you are doing it face-to-face, you realize that actually you can't do that, because if I'm telling you, keep your hips straight, you can't see yourself. But now I show you a video of yourself. I draw a line at the 90-degree vertical angle. You can tell how much, and that provides very objective feedback. Of course, the coach needs to take more time, but this provides us with quantifiable evidence when we do our coaching. We can also use this as a means of giving very clear scheduled workouts. Tell my guys, okay, today's training session comprises of this is the training plan. Let me demonstrate the 3 exercises that you're going to do. I'll delegate you. When you have done that, come back to me with your correction. So that's a very directive approach. We can
and I
also
think we kind of talked about this yesterday when we were having a chat about how in a physical space, when the students or the athlete are performing that particular skill, you are the one moving around to look at that skill in different angles, right? But in the online space, you have to get the students to be perhaps turning themselves or turning their devices so that we as coaches can see it at different angles. And I think that's the differentiator between giving instructions and therefore being an instructor versus a coach, where there is that two-way engagement as you pointed out earlier, right?
Yep. And the advantage now is that with the mobile devices, you realize that once they are in tune with it, the athletes themselves will become very conscious that they are executing their skill on video, which means that I'm performing with an intended target audience in mind. So sometimes in live sessions, when you have 20 athletes, 20 participants, who says, okay, everybody, let's do this drill. Everyone's going through the motion because the assumption is coach is walking around. If I make a mistake, coach will come over me, tap me on my shoulder, correct me. If coach doesn't tell me that I am doing anything wrong, no news is good news. But now when you film a video, you realize everybody's going to watch. Okay, I better get my form correct. I better position myself correctly.
That's right.
Because once it's on YouTube, it's forever. So people want to be very conscious about that. If we flip it away and we talk about asking, then we can also look at, okay, it's not only two-way interaction. Coach give feedback, you give back. I can now ask you guys, we've covered 3 throws last week. We've done 3 takedowns. We've done 3 strikes. We've done 3 locks. We've done 9 things last week. What do you guys want to work on? Now, the coach can take a step back instead of just giving feedback one-to-one. The community can now say, look, coach, I want to work on this. I want to work on that. As an accountability device, seasoned athletes can track and motivate each other. So now, by giving their video feedback, says, so coach, I have this problem. I noticed that the rest of my teammates, when you showed that move last week, they were fine. But for some reason, I keep fumbling this. Okay, now show me. And then the rest of us can chip in. And at this point in time, the coach can even take a step back, ask the senior athletes, what do you think is going on? How can you help? So what could be happening if you are doing this live, let's say either on Zoom or WebEx, is if Azar's the one asking questions and I'm the coach, I might be just letting Andrew lead the discussion and give comments while I'm scrolling through the screens to just watch the different athletes. So I begin to fade into the background and empower the individuals and see how each one of them is monitoring. We might also use a third option, and that is where we can travel in time and space. So we sell an idea. So what do I mean by this? Through the online engagement platform, like sometimes in our face-to-face coaching, we'll tell athletes, the reason you are facing this is in this match, in my previous match or in your previous match, this is what your opponent did. That's why you got counted, or that's why you lost that match. Remember last year's competition, this is what happened. But it's going to be a bit hard to remember it on the spot, even though he's doing the same mistake that you can recall. Now with video footage, you can say, look, let's review last year's match. You can even travel in space. So if I'm speaking to my class on some grappling moves and ground level takedowns, but I can't access to them, I might call upon my good friend Silvano and says, hey, today we have a guest instructor coming in. He's going to work with you and he's going to give you some tips of some of the double leg takedowns that we've been working on. Some of you may have problems with it, but let's show your change of levels and Silvano will be able to give you some inputs of that. So by bringing in guest speakers, we help raise each other. So we travel in time and space. We can't bring them, the athletes, to the gym, but we can bring the gym to them. And this is also a good time to work on motivations and skills. So let's show you something that I've done with my my own training group. Oops.
This is what you're hiding in the kitchen.
It's not a kitchen.
So this year, my training crew was supposed to head to Manila for overseas training seminar.
What does this diagram mean to you guys?
COVID kept us apart, so we actually did a session where we did a review of what is our learning approach.
We are getting overwhelmed.
So we started by bringing the community. This was after about 2-3 weeks of being shut in at home already.
Getting wrong is like the fear zone.
So I invited them to share on what they felt was their comfort zone, their fear zone, and their learning zone.
Getting it sharper. So it may well be that you start here, right?
So one of the things that I was trying to encourage to my team was that training doesn't necessarily, even in martial arts, doesn't always have to be physical, be conceptual. We understand the tactics or the strategies behind what we do. And we play footage from previous events. So if we can't go to the physical event, we highlight training events that we have been to and review them. Another thing is, I showed my athletes my own training progress. So So these are footage of me when I was learning the ropes. So they get a chance to see me work through. Then the athletes themselves can share what are some of their struggles that they want.
What you all can try to do to cultivate this habit was like what I was told to do 2 years ago when I went for the meet. It means whenever you do a 6, you always.
So here, after a while, when they get used to working on the online platform, when they give comments to each other, it's the group giving feedback to each other on their performance rather than me having to always intersperse and tell them, okay, coach says you need to do this because you did this. Now I can throw out the solution for them. So we connect them and maintain that model with each other. Azhar, you're on mute.
So we kind of empower them to take charge of their own learning and to move towards a more self-directed sort of approach. And I think this is aligned to the 21st century skills that even in the MOE schools they are advocating and trying to inculcate in their athletes. Yeah, that self-directed learning and self-directed sort of attitude.
And also to be as an active contributor. So what this does is the challenge that I think I've spoken to many coaches, the challenge that we face now is that many coaches out there, especially those who are actively working with Sports SG and who are in the NROC databases, we're very diligent in providing content, but we also need to educate our athletes that it's not just the coach's responsibility to produce content to keep you motivated and on task in training. You yourself have to take the role to remain activated. So the final point on delegation is that even through video platforms, now I can delegate a short workout session to each of the team members, and you're going to take turns to lead it. Once you are familiar with the platform, whichever platform you use, I'm going to sign in at Wednesday, 9 o'clock. I'm going to just sit there. And today, Azhar is the one leading the warm-up, and Azhar has already worked with me. What's the training program? We've talked about it, and he's going to lead it through. So the same team captain that was active on site, on the ground, in the school team or manages that same role. He doesn't relinquish it just because we have gone into the virtual space and says, oh, Coach Randell, now we are all lost. You decide what we... No, you're still the team captain. You're going to lead warm-ups. And then we can use this as the accountability to keep the team captain moving forward. And the team will still have that support to work with each other.
Yeah, and I recall a phrase that I, in my earlier coaching days, I came across this particular phrase, and it says that the role of a coach is to make himself redundant. So I think if we have done a good job, then we don't really have to be there because our athletes, our students will know what to do, what to do for warm up, what to do for preparation, and to provide each other with feedback. So essentially, we've kind of delegated the role of our coaching to them, so that they are part of the coaching process. Yeah.
Yes. Maybe a way to clarify this would be, it's not that we are not there. We are there. We are present. It's our visibility. They know that we start to fade into the background. I think I myself am guilty of it too, because we're very passionate about what we do. And especially in combat sports or physical sports, there's always the desire to say, oh, you're doing something wrong. Let me show you how I would have done it to solve this problem. But that's always my solution to my perception of what the problem is. Sometimes at the athlete's level, he may not face this problem, or he may want to work out a different solution. If you step in too fast, then you disrupt his learning process. So by delegation, what we are trying to do is reassure the athletes we are there. We're not just like, okay, coach is going to sip his morning coffee and hands off. I'm still there. But now I'm watching you do and allow you to, I won't say make mistakes, allow you to explore your comfort zone. And as a coach, I'll be there to reassure you and make sure that if you fall short, I can come and step in. That's where the power of online platforms are there. Because if you look at leading a face-to-face class in person for 30 people at a shot, it can be quite intimidating for younger athletes. Now, you realize that, wait a minute, in front of a video screen, as long as I'm not too camera shy, I don't have too many people staring at me, if there's any mistake, coach can always step in. That gives them a form of reassurance. So they are also actually learning small portions of micro coaching. And as coaches, we should always also think about who are the next in line people that we can develop as aspiring coaches. So that's one way to already embed that process in. Yep, so one of the advice that I would give is that when we produce online content, it should be seen as something of equitable value with the regular face-to-face physical session. I say equitable because it may not necessarily be an equal match. What we need to always understand as coaches is that because we are doing this professionally, then we need to understand how this creates a value add for the client to continue to engage us. If all we are telling our clients is, oh, I'm only producing video content during this period, once after circuit breaker, you'll get back to normal with me. So therefore, I just have 2 videos out. We are giving them a very low quality product, because if for whatever reason circuit breaker extends for 3 months, then that means that as a coach, you have just given up. Whereas if we are of the mindset and says, look, I can coach you face-to-face, one-on-one. I can coach in a group setting. I can also coach you online. Then we no longer look at which one is a better coaching session. Is it a face-to-face session that's better than a virtual session? It's not that kind of conversation. It's how can I, as a coach, address your learning needs? And then
so I guess that alludes to the point about not taking on a versus approach, right? It's not one versus the other.
Yeah.
This is better than another, but rather to say that I now have multiple platforms in which I can engage my athletes, face-to-face, as well as online, and blended sort of approach. So essentially increasing the platform in which we can engage our students.
Yep. And that means that for coaches who are willing to put ourselves out there, that means now I'm available to you 24/7. I can accommodate to your work schedule, because like what Azhar has mentioned, and I saw Andrew do a sign, it's a blended approach, right? You're trying to say that. Because once you do a versus approach, then we get stuck into this conversation where we then need to negotiate with our clients, our students, which one costs more, which one is more expensive, which one is a higher tier. And once we do that, then we end up falling into this red ocean where we prioritize certain services over the other. But if we look at ourselves as service providers, then it always is, you're paying me for my professional expertise and time. The mode of delivery doesn't matter. The goal, the measurable outcome is your progress by the end of this time. So one thing I wanted to share for coaches who haven't come on board is, this was something that my team of coaches and we did. I think it was on the 14th. It was on the day that lockdown was announced. We had a kind of meet up, a planning session. We weren't certain whether we would be, circuit breaker had not come into effect, but gyms were closing down, and we were asking ourselves, moving forward, there will be a high chance that there's disruption to society. Business as usual is not possible. So I work with coaches in the resilience industry. We do first aid training, we do defense tactics, martial arts, outdoor adventure. So we realized in the last 1.5 years, if we looked at what happened in regional stability, there have been big changes. We look at what happened to COVID. So based on what we have, what products and services can we offer now that people are willing to pay for? Andrew last week talked about, if you only have one revenue stream, right, then that limits you. So our team was saying, if all I have is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. So if I do martial arts and if I do a particular sport, but I only want to coach this martial art in this particular fashion, in this way, then there's nothing wrong with that. But that means that I'm limited to the ecosystem that allows me to function. In a crisis situation, then we realize that people will prioritize resources and their spending. So what products and services can we offer now that people are willing to pay for if I want to enter this industry and sustain myself? And what do I need to do to get our products and services to our customers? So we took some time off to map out key aspects of the situation and the impact to daily life as business as usual. And we asked ourselves, let's take away what we do as coaches. Let's look in the industry and things that we are familiar with and just ask ourselves, what do we think are 5 products or services that are most relevant now? Once we ask that for ourselves, then we ask ourselves, okay, as a sports coach, where do I fit into this map? Then we understand how can we relate to collaborators, either from a business to business perspective or either a business to client perspective. So I have this simple template out. I can offer it for download later on. It's just a simple guided process for us to take stock of ourselves as either self-employed individuals or small business owners. What is my offering? What's my value proposition to a customer who wants something? Can I create a need for him? If what I'm having doesn't address his need, then I may be the best at what I do, but I still won't get any recurring business because I'm not catering to my clients' needs. Or in education terms, I'm not being learner-centric. I could be the best lecturer out there, the best professor, but I'm not catering for my students' need, and my student may not need this at this moment for his growth. So we must always understand that.
Yeah, so I think that's a wonderful advice, Randell, that it has to fit into what are really the needs of the people out there, our clients, our students, our athletes. Yeah, and I think you're coming to this point where I'm gonna squeeze you for this. You are offering this for free for our coaches out there?
Yes, so we are partnering with, we are very lucky and blessed, and big shout out to Coach SG and Sports SG team. Me and my coaches have been following what you have been doing. Great thanks to you all for supporting the community. There are a lot of resources out there that have been made available. So with some of the industry partners, I'm working with Cisco WebEx teams to allow coaches who want to come on board to understand, is there a difference between a synchronous and asynchronous lesson? So what's the difference? Coaches are asking us, if I film myself on video, is that just a video lesson? Is that e-learning? What's the difference when you talk about a learning management system? What's the price point? So one of the things that we need to learn is the difference between a live session and a home-based learning package. How is it structured? And through that, there are some of the coaching pedagogy needs to come in. The other thing is, if we want to do this as a means of a supplement to our coaching, then we need to determine pricing. How do we determine pricing? Depends on the amount of resources and bandwidth I want to delegate it, and the quality of the product that I have. So as coaches, if I want to actively engage on the social media platform, I have to have a means of being able to produce good content fast. Otherwise, it just takes too much effort. Then the third thing is, once I'm able to do that, what sort of platforms to use? Different platforms will give us different advantage. So with some of our industry partners, they will come on board with us on Friday, this Friday. We'll do about a 2-hour session to give you an idea of what some best practices are, walk you through some simple video production hacks that you can do. And basically after that, for those of them who want to continue, I've got some templates that can help them review their coaching processes as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Randell. So coaches, you hear it live. Randell is offering this particular session for you guys for free, and that's really generous, as I said, and I think that's really good in terms of one coach trying to help other coaches upskill themselves and get better during this current situation. So maybe we take on we use a bit of time. We got a bit of time left, and let's use that time to just take on a couple of questions that I see here in the group chat. And Hanson asked about, when you record your coaching online, do you review or do you use that as a review of your own coaching and your own coaching practices?
Wow, trust Hanson to ask very thought-provoking questions. Use that to review our own. I guess it is a natural extension. So one way to find out is, so in our backend, right? I sometimes spend, okay, maybe I rephrase this. I have my own Facebook page for the different groups. So one of the things that I do is, when I populate it with video content for week's training, then I spend a lot of time. I put 5 hours in, I produce a 2-minute clip. Then 2 days later, I look, there's like 5 likes. My wife posts a video of my daughter running around doing some crazy stuff, right? The whole world has like 1 million likes on it. And you know, this was something ad hoc taken like 10 seconds. I spend 5 hours, I get 0 likes. So as a byproduct of it, when we post out content, it's already saying, okay, either you are posting at the wrong time to the wrong audience, or you're not meeting their review needs. So from the fact that you have video content, you realize that viewership is low. That means I'm not engaging. If I'm not engaging, then the question means I have to go down to the end user and ask, hey, was that video useful to you? Going deeper, and I think that's where Hansen is direct. In social media, just having a like itself actually isn't an indication of the quality of the coaching. You need to dig deeper and says that if you like the video, why was it? Was it just because it was me there? You know, you just want to give support, or what were the key learning points? And that helps.
Yeah.
So what we have done is in the video processes, when I do the review of the learning, I also ask my athletes, I invite them to give some comments on the quality of the lesson, what they found work and what they didn't work. And then I use that to shape my next online engagement with them.
Yeah, so I guess this is a question that I think it comes naturally to many, particularly senior coaches, where they often reflect, and that's what we are encouraging coaches to do anyway, even though they are an entry-level coach, to always reflect on their practices and ask themselves, how can I get better? How can I coach better? And you can get the feedback directly from the athletes in a face-to-face sort of situation. But I think now that we are putting things online, or if we are starting to put things online, I think the opportunity is for us to canvas for those kind of feedback online as well. And I think Facebook has got all the insights, YouTube has all the analytics that you can go into to see how much reach has your content garnered, you know, how much engagement and how much time people are spending watching your YouTube videos. So I think that's really a wonderful feedback that we can use to reflect on our own coaching practices and get better.
So one good strategy that I can recommend for coaches out there is the analytics on Facebook will give you viewership. So if you have a public video out there, it gives you as a form of marketing tool how engaging. But if you want to track learning review, one simple way to do this is in your classes or in your groups, create just a private group. Whenever you post a new clip out there, make the learning task that after you have watched the clip, everybody needs to post one comment in that closed group on what they have learned, what they found useful, what they wish to see. So keep it simple, and it allows you as the coach to track your learning process. It keeps the feedback private to within the group. And years from now, if you trace back the entire season, and if you maintain this through an entire season's worth of coaching, you actually can realize the progression of your team, either through face-to-face coaching events or even just through the log of all the video comments.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Randell, I just want to thank you once again. We've kind of hit the 11 o'clock mark, and I just want to give everyone just a minute if there are any other questions from our participants. And I'm going to reclaim host from you to see if there are any questions. You can raise your hands and ask those questions to us. All right, so I think the question that a few have asked is, how do I sign up for that course that you just publicized on the previous slide? And I think one of your guys, is it Alvin Ng, has given that information on what they can do to join up or to sign up. So would that be correct?
Yeah.
They just go to info@exilesolutions.
Yep, drop me a mail. We'll gather the participants, and once we know it, I'll send you all the invite link.
All right, wonderful. I just want to share to finish off. If I could invite you, Randell, to just give some words of encouragement and motivation to our coaches out there, who are many of which are struggling to kind of make ends meet, so to speak, because it has affected their income stream. So words of encouragement and advice and motivation from you, Randell.
Well, to all the coaches out there, we have always told our athletes to believe in themselves, you know, that tough times don't last. tough people do. We have always encouraged our athletes. So if we take a look at ourselves and we look at what we are doing for the athletes, we are actually multiplying the value that we have based on the amount of athletes that we have. So it's tough times for us. It won't be easier. And honestly, among the group of coaches that we work with, we are prepared that times will get tougher. We know that the world has changed. We might not go back to business as usual from now onwards, but we are determined that we have value. And the fact that we are struggling means that this is an opportunity for us to make that critical difference. So
yeah. Thanks, Randell, for that. I just want to share something that I put up at the NCDA seminar that or webinar that I was invited for on Saturday, and I put up this particular slide. I think you can see it here, and that's something I learned. And just now you mentioned the word crisis, and the Chinese word there is, as I understand from Google, it means
correct.
crisis, and it's made up of two characters, right?
Yes.
And the character on the left is danger, and the character on the right is opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think this current COVID situation, it is a difficult time for all of us, but I think with adversity comes opportunity.
Yes.
And that really is something that Benjamin Franklin first talked about: upon adversity comes opportunity. So although we're in difficult times, I think it is opportunity for us to upskill ourselves, to develop new capabilities so that we can thrive in this period and bounce back to, when this situation sort of get better, and we'll probably go into a new normal. There will be a new normal that will be defined, but I think we're in a better position if we use this period as an opportunity to pick up new skills. So with that, we want to thank you once again, Randell, for being here and for your generous sharing and generous offering of that upcoming course that you are running. And for coaches who have been with us and those who are viewing us live on Facebook, thank you for being here. I hope it's been useful and meaningful, and you've got lots of takeaways. Randell has also kindly said that he will be sharing the slides with us, and we'll put it up on our Coach SG website, so look out for that. For coaches who've been here and also others, we do want to have feedback from you. So I've just sent the feedback link to you via the chat, the group chat. So do fill it up, and when we get the feedback from you, you'll be accorded the CC hours so that you can log it into your NROC records. Yep. So with that, thank you, everybody. Randell, thank you so much for today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay connected. All right. Thank you and goodbye.
Okay, we grow stronger every day.
Yeah, that's right.